common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And joining us now here on Katz and Cosby is the great investigative journalist John Solomon. You have some big breaking news on the debate front. Go ahead.
We do. The fallout from the debate is far beyond the campaign trail. In fact, it hasn't really changed the election campaign scenario very much. The two candidates are pretty much in the same position they were before, but the entire country is beginning to wonder whether we're on a precipice of losing presidential debates. ABC News' performance has angered people on the left and the right. Just a few minutes ago on my podcast, Mark Penn, the longtime strategist for Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, longtime Democrat, says ABC, the parent company, needs to launch an investigation of the ABC News division, this specific debate, and what conversations occurred between the news division and Kamala Harris's campaign before then. He says, I don't know what they told the Harris campaign, but we should be able to find out something was not right about this debate. He's very strong. This is a Democrat associated with the Clintons for more than 3 decades saying ABC News owes the country an investigation of the moderators, the fact-checking, and any conversations and coordination they had with Kamala Harris's campaign. That is the sort of thing that's been buzzing all over Washington today. A lot of other people also asking the question, did ABC News put a nail in the coffin of the traditional, neutral presidential debate that most of us have relied on in our lifetimes?
John, I worked closely with Mark Penn originally, too. The other question is that there was rumors going around that there's a whistleblower that is blowing the whistle on ABC television. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, there's been some discussion that Congress was reached out to by an ABC person, and not clear if it's an executive or someone else. Thus far, they haven't secured what would we call a whistleblower arrangement or know exactly what this person is, but there is someone shopping some information that they think is important concerning ABC and its allegiances or its meddling in politics. We don't know more than that. We don't know if it's credible yet. We do know that there are some conversations going on.
Yeah, something to the effect that like maybe she had been given sample questions. Kamala Harris, we know that like the executive there at ABC is very close with Kamala. I mean, it really is interesting. I want to also switch gears also, and let's touch on what was incredible today, John. We also heard from Attorney General Merrick Garland, and my jaw dropped when I heard him say, well, we're not going to be a political weapon. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you guys gave Joe Biden a pass. You're going after Trump. You politicized the DOJ. What did you make of his statements?
Well, I don't think a lot of people took him seriously. Maybe they thought it was a version of The Onion or Saturday Night Live, because for the last 6 years, his own department's prosecutors have had to come out and say, we did things wrong. We got politically involved. It was the Justice Department's FBI that took dirt from Hillary Clinton's campaign and turned it into an unwarranted investigation on Donald Trump called Russia collusion. It was his department under Merrick Garland that actually launched an investigation of parents who were raising questions at school board meetings about a liberal indoctrination of their children. It was his department that called Catholics who preferred the old-fashioned Latin Mass a potential extremist threat. It was his department that has had to go through several very serious hearings in which the conduct of the FBI and the Justice Department as it relates to criminal prosecutions of Donald Trump. Remember, it's his department that's charged Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, with 2 separate criminal cases. They've had to face a lot of tough questions, and one of their cases was just thrown out of federal court by a judge who said the prosecutor didn't have the authority to do what he did against President Trump. I think if people take that record and say, Merrick Garland, what you said today, I'm not taking it very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, you also have, John Solomon, a big update on the January 6 cases.
Yeah, important stuff. This is important. So, as you know, the Supreme Court, before it finished its summer recess, ruled that the application of an obstruction charge against many of the January 6 defendants was an abuse of power. It was not warranted under the law. It was a misuse of the statute. More than half of the people who still have pending charges, not the ones who've been convicted under that statute yet, but those who are facing charges, they've had those charges dropped. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's great, but what about the other half who hasn't have it dropped? And what about all the people previously convicted? The Justice Department is silent on that, But once again, that's another example where the courts have had to rein in Merrick Garland in what has appeared to many people to be a political prosecution, the misuse of a statute to go after Trump supporters from January 6th.
Well, John, I mean, that's a lot of news. What bothers you the most about what's going on? I mean, I can't believe the Justice Department just keep saying things like that. That's the part. You know, during the Economic Club hearing, President Trump spoke out and says, "We're going to bring the rule of law back to the United States of America because there hasn't been any rule of law."
Yeah, I think you summed up, John, what so many Americans of all political stripes, by the way, even Democrats say, listen, we know what's been going on. We get it.
Well, Dershowitz, look what Dershowitz did. He says, I cannot be a Democrat anymore. And I never, ever thought that Dershowitz, those words would come out of Dershowitz's mouth.
Yeah. He's an icon of the Democratic Party of old, but so many people feel like the Democratic Party has left them. And one of the delimiters is the fact that the Justice Department looks like it's doing political prosecutions, not prosecutions for law and order. Listen, I think there's something very important going on in the country right now. People are no longer going to be fooled by rhetoric. They're no longer going to be fooled by rehearsed statements and debates and rehearsed speeches. They're really looking at what's going on in this country, and they're saying, this isn't America. And this is the election they get a chance to fix it. I think people, when they go in the ballot box, they're clearly going to be voting for the economy. But I think returning the United States to a norm when it comes to law and order is one of those issues that are probably not going to show up in the polls. But on election day, we're going to go, oh, people were voting on that.
Well, John Solomon, thank you very much. And please look further into that whistleblower for ABC TV. Did Harris have the questions? Let's find out. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, sir.